hiring someone who's better than what you are. We have people on our team, we have graphic designer, we have videographer, we have media people who are better than us at those things. That not only frees our time, they are better at it, so our quality improves.
And Anthony brought two $14,000 deals last week to us, and I reviewed them real quick, didn't really look into them much at all because it was $14,000. I was like, whatever you think. And then in the same exact county, they brought back 7 more in Utah. We've never done deals in Utah until last month.
Anything in your business, anything can be outsourced to a VA. Like, Americans sometimes are put on like a pedestal about what they can do in your business. A VA can do anything. Get people who fit, get people who want to grow with you and your company, and they can literally do everything for you.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Real Estate Investing Podcast. Today's topic, we're discussing outsourcing and hiring virtual assistants to completely scale your land flipping business. I'm your host, Daniel Apke, joined again by my brother and business partner, Ron Apke. And this has been a topic, a lot of, in real estate in general, people outsource with virtual assistants. So in this episode, I want to talk about the first positions to outsource, what you should look for first, and how much you can outsource using overseas. We're talking $3, $4, $5 an hour employees to scale this. And then when maybe American employees needed to come in to scale to that next level. And we'll talk about pros and cons of hiring onshore versus offshore and all of that. But welcome back, Ron.
Yeah, happy to be here. And we've talked quite a bit about virtual assistant stuff like that. Honestly, our students are the ones that have kind of opened up to me how many things virtual assistants can do, whether being on the phone, title companies, due diligence. Like, they're using virtual assistants. Our students are using virtual assistants way more than we do. We do it a lot for admin type work, data entry work, that kind of stuff. But some people are building their entire land business around virtual assistants. So we can talk all about that.
It's like anything, and we're going to get into this more in this episode. But there's good and bad virtual assistants. You can pay more and get better quality, and you can get very, very highly trained people to price your mail. And I don't think there's much you can't find, because there's a dollar price. You might have to pay more, and the salary goes up with more. But we're going to get into that in this episode. And first, I want to talk about the pillars of this business model so we can start to attack what to outsource first. So when I think of the land investing business model that we do, you obviously have your acquisitions, and that's everything that leads up to getting your deals under contract, essentially, right? And then you have the transaction piece, which is the, actual process of getting title and buying and closing the property and all of that. And then you have disposition. Once that closes, you have disposition to sell the properties, to market the property and sell it, dispose of it, disposition. And then you kind of have the operations, which brings all these together and actually to reality, and your connections and all the operations that go in hand with these.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of buckets under each one of those for sure. But at the end of the day, that's kind of what this business is. It is those 3, you said 3, right? Acquisition, disposition, operations. Is that correct? Transactions too. Yeah. So, I mean, everything really falls under this bucket. There's a ton of things in there for sure. And some of those positions might be multiple people, where you have multiple people under there who specialize in certain things. But overall, that's kind of the basis of this business for sure.
Exactly. And acquisitions is anything from sending out your mail is considered a branch of acquisitions in mine. To choosing a market's a part of your acquisition strategy. It's how to get the properties until you get the contract, essentially.
So you're saying everything up to that, and then transaction is due diligence.
Yes.
The logistics, transaction coordinator, everything like that.
Correct. And then when it sells, everything goes to disposition.
Yeah. There's a ton of roles under there for sure.
Yeah. So acquisitions is the big, in real estate in general, acquisitions is how you make money. I mean, buying properties, the more you acquire under market value, the more you're going to make. It's much different than a lot of other businesses in that just the more you can buy, essentially, the more you're going to make at the end of the day. So this whole business financially revolves around acquiring.
For sure. I mean, you hear billionaire, multi-hundred millionaire real estate people, like, the money is in the buy. The money is in the buy. The money's in the buy. And that yields true with anything. If you're buying a business, the money is in the buy. Like, you are going to make money at the buy. Facebook bought Instagram for $1 billion.
Yeah.
If they paid $100 billion for it, it's not as good of a deal. But now that's probably worth $100 billion itself. It's all in the buy and getting it for the right price.
Yeah, and it's like if you're holding a rental property, a lot of times you can buy it 100%, still make it work depending on your market. But if you buy it 80%, all of a sudden you're walking into 20% equity, and you have money, you have leverage, you have everything kind of comes together from that. in our business, we obviously want to buy $30,000 and sell for 60. The money's in the buy because we know we have equity there. We know we're buying an asset that has $30,000 of equity there that we're going to sell and make money. We know the disposition process has a time and on average how much time it takes from that point of buying to selling, but we know we're going to turn that money on average. We know what we're going to make. So the disposition process kind of just needs to play out.
Yeah, for sure. And being able to getting into like the roles, like being able to know when you're buying the right thing for the right price is what we view as the hardest thing to do in this business, which is comping land, understanding. If you can predict accurately what a piece of land is going to sell for, you can make so much money alone with that skill set in this business, because so few people in this business model in the country can do that. So, I mean, that's probably the top level role. That would be like the last to outsource, I'd imagine.
Besides management positions.
Yeah.
Management would probably be the last. But yes, in terms of, you're saying just
decision making, buying decision making.
The final decision.
Exactly.
Oh yeah. I mean, because especially unless you're running a multi-million dollar, $10-20 million, $5-10-20 million, it's not that many transactions. I mean, how many transactions do you need to do, let's just say, for $1 million to $2 million business?
Yeah, 50 to 100.
A year?
Yeah.
So you're talking 2 a month?
Yeah.
So you're talking...
Wait, 50 to 100, that's four or five a month.
Oh, where's my math there? So 1 a week.
Yeah.
So you have to make a decision on 1 property a week.
Yeah.
To be in the $1 to $2 million net. You're talking gross.
Say yes to the right deal. Okay, you make more decisions than that, because for every one deal we say yes to, we say no to 2, 3.
That's a good point. So that is more of a job, but it's still 5 to 10 hours a week.
For sure. Yeah. It's not the time. The time of that role is
low,
minimal, but the skill, the knowledge, the understanding of markets is so high, and the repercussions on the good side and the bad side are so big, because you make a bad decision, it can cost you a lot of money. You don't make a good decision, like you say no to a property that you can make $100,000 on, it costs you a ton of money as well.
Yeah, and Anthony brought it's like 2 $14,000 deals last week to us, because Ron and I are the ones who typically do the final approval, and Anthony brings his opinion, and we pretty much look at his notes and say yes or no based on it, if it's over a certain amount for the most part. But he brought me 2 $14,000 deals, and I reviewed them real quick, didn't really look into them much at all because it was $14,000. So I was like, whatever you think. And then he approved them. And then, and then in the same exact county, they brought back 7 more. And I was like, all right, let's buy. And they were all around the same price. And they're getting all these properties. It was in Utah.
Yeah.
We've never done deals in Utah until last month. And they brought 7 more. I approved 3 of them. We've just bought and sold 1. That's 11 deals in the same. And then that's when I was like, that's when that decision making is like, we can't put all of our eggs in one basket. Let's sell 1 more of the others before we go.
So how many did we buy? I'm a little out of it.
We have 3 in escrow, and we bought and sold 1.
My goodness.
He sold the one we bought and sold
really
in the
fast.
same.
Yeah. Really fast.
And then they brought 7 more this weekend or something like that. So I don't want to go into details on who or what county or anything, but that's just one of the times where you talk about, like, if I buy all 11, one $14,000, 2 $14,000, but then you start talking 11 of them and then the risk there. But that's what Ron's talking about, is like understanding. That's an extreme example, but understanding, like, saying, because that's where you're going to put your capital. It's where you're going to put other investors' capital. Capital is limited, and you want to make sure those have the best returns. And saying yes and no to the right deals is crucial.
So getting into like the VA thing, Dan, obviously that's like making decisions like that long down the road. Getting into the VA thing, who should be looking for a VA? When do you do this? What is the decision-making process on what that first, because I feel like if you just hire VA just to hire one and you don't have defined stuff, it can get a little messy kind of fast. But like, who should be looking to hire their VA, and what is the process for determining what that first VA should be doing? I
think you take a combination of what you're not good at doing and what you don't like to do, and try to work backwards from there. This business model is, unless you're texting and cold calling, which I suggest you do if you're going full force at this in some capacity. If you're just doing mail, this is it's not labor-intensive business. Like, you don't need that many man hours, so you can outsource more specific things, I think, and you don't need a full-time person. To have a full-time VA in this, you need to be doing a decent amount, having a good amount of leads coming in for order, or the CRM entry and the scrubbing and everything else that they can do. But I think you take to get back to your question, I think you take a combination of what's taking your time. So you got to do a time audit. And we got to get back to the basics. Like, write down everything you're doing with a timestamp next to it, and figure out where you're spending your time. And then going back to the basic Dan Martell with buy back your time type of strategies is very basic, but put how much you like it there, like 1 to 3. What does he do? He puts a check mark if you like it.
Something like that.
Something like that. But yeah, understand how much time it's taking if you like, because if you love to do something, but it's also low value.
Yeah, he does the dollar sign.
He does the dollar signs to how valuable it is. Like, I can tell you right now, putting your little email into an inbox isn't going to bring you any money. I can tell you right now, scrubbing your data set isn't going to make you any money. You can teach someone how to do that with step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 video, right? All those things that are so easy to outsource. Ron talked about acquisitions as being the hardest thing to outsource. Think about the opposite side, the easiest things. And that's what you want to take. You want to take the easiest things on this side. You have the hardest things like making the final decision on buying a property or not. And then you have the easiest things like scrubbing a document, mail merge, uploading your mail files, like all of that stuff. And you want to take everything on this side. If you like it and you just enjoy to do it, whatever, keep doing it. Because I think in business, you want to enjoy a lot of it or else it's not going to be sustainable. But most of the things over here, you're not going to because they're tedious. It's like email stuff, admin, basic stuff.
Yeah, and I think when you are ready to hire, there's no definition or like set time when you should be ready to hire your first VA. But what we don't want, and what we hear a lot of, is people like letting their first VA go because they don't have enough stuff to keep them busy. So you got to kind of be cognizant of what kind of stuff in the business they can be doing, how can they grow, and you want a VA. Like, VAs can grow within your business, and you can add stuff to their plate that they weren't initially hired on for. So like thinking about all that stuff and just freeing up your time to do money-making activities. That is the purpose of hiring in general. One is freeing up your time. The other thing is hiring someone who's better than what you are. We have people on our team. We have graphic designer, we have videographer, we have media people, editing people who are better than us at those things. So that not only frees our time, they are better at it, so our quality improves.
Exactly. And then it's also, like Ron said, that I really want to hit, you got to take the things that are taking your time and not moving the needle forward also. Like the low level things. So you can spend time on the phone calling these leads back. Like the things that make money in this business is sending out your marketing and catering to the leads to acquire, right? Like those are the things that make money where you want to spend. Okay, yeah, get your mail schedule planned, select all your county zip codes, all your whole strategy, get 3 to 5 months of that set up and execute on that. That's where the money is, executing on that, getting that stuff out, and then taking the calls, the leads. That's one of the last positions I would outsource is sales would be probably second to last after that final decision. But that sales guy or someone in your team might be able to do that final decision eventually too. But you want to spend time with what drives the needle forward, and that's acquisitions. That's catering to your leads, calling them back quick, negotiating with them, finding new ways to acquire, subdivide, double closes, making the most out of every lead because leads are expensive and leads are timely, and that's how we make money.
Yeah, and I think it's like a mental hurdle for a lot of people because they think they're doing important crap when they're not doing important crap.
No.
Or like money. When I say important, I mean money-making things. Like, what are the money-making activities in your business? And it was a hurdle for me mentally with some stuff. I made a Loom video, our VA's doing it. And like, I don't even remember half the stuff, but I just make Loom videos and just stack those Loom videos on top. And it's just stuff that gets done where I see the end result. I don't see what the process for exactly what's happening. And it's just like stacking those videos on top of each other, creating a quote unquote playbook is what Dan Martell calls it, but just Loom video on Loom video, how to do something. So it is very defined for VAs. And then if you have to fire someone, because we can talk about that too, you want to hire you want to hire, not slow, you don't want to hire slow, but you do want to fire fast VAs. Like if you don't think someone's going to work in your business, get rid of them.
In general, VAs are not VAs.
100%.
So like that's with anything. Like if you know it's not going to work, and they probably have that feeling too at that time, and it's just not going to work, it's no reason to drag it on. It's doing them a disservice at that point too.
Yeah.
And people get hung up on letting go of employees where it's not going to work, but you got to realize they're going to quit eventually because they don't fit, or they're just going to not pick it up and perform. So it's good to get rid of them quick. But the things let's just talk about some basic activities VAs can do off the bat. And I really like outsourcing for the whole business. And I don't want to just talk about scrubbing and stuff. I thought this episode could be more than that. Like talk about some higher level data, and just marketing people actually selecting the counties for you down the road and sending the mail and executing on your vision essentially.
Yeah. I think the bare bones, the basic stuff starts with scrubbing, starts with that kind of stuff. But yeah, absolutely. Title companies, due diligence, like that stuff isn't making you money. As long as you are So if I'm a title, if I'm hiring someone for title, as long as I'm reviewing their due diligence, reviewing the final documents before closing, like I'm protecting myself from a big loss in money. So, I mean, all those things, I think title, due diligence, that kind of stuff can be, we've never used it.
It's very factual.
100%.
It's yes or no.
They're getting you the facts. And that's what VAs are good at. Like they're good at collecting facts. They're good at plugging things into a spreadsheet. Like, okay, no access here, utilities, XYZ, whatever it is. I think that's one we've never outsourced. We never use VAs for due diligence, but I definitely think it's something that could be.
Absolutely. Without a doubt. They just need to call the counties. That's the biggest barrier. So you got to get one with decent English because they need to call and ask questions and dig in and do all that. But it's absolutely, I know tons of people do that, including our brother Mike. He has a VA who does a lot of his due diligence and he kind of checks and confirms everything. But let's talk about the range. I want to talk about how much you're going to pay these people. Just to start off with basic customer support type of, maybe they're doing that's the thing. VAs will do, when you first have them on and your business is newer, they're going to do a little bit of everything. Mm-hmm. They're not going to just have one role to do. Like we hire VAs for for editing, right? And they're overseas employees that edit. And Christian, for example, does a very, very good job with that, right? Yeah. And then and that's very specified. But I'm trying to say, when in your land business, it's going to be unspecified type of roles almost. Like they're going to come in, you're going to give them one or two things, then you're going to give them 3 or 4 or 5 and 6, and you're going to keep adding their plate over time. Maybe it starts with scrubbing and pooling your data list and cleaning your data list up and getting it ready to price and putting in all your columns and getting it ready to price your mail, or getting ready to send your text and uploading the launch control, or skip tracing it next. And you're teaching them all that to get the data ready for you to actually execute. And then they hit the send button, and then you're there waiting on the responses, right? And then next step, maybe you do an acquisitions person trying to get them on the phone with you. That's just texting them back, mm-hmm. right? So you kind of slowly cater to them and build them up as they go.
Yeah, for sure. And like we're talking about like it can be anything in your business. Anything can be outsourced to a VA. Like Americans sometimes are put on like a pedestal about what they can do in your business. A VA can do anything other than be there with you in person, because that's a virtual assistant is a virtual assistant, an overseas virtual assistant. But like, They can literally do anything. They can scale up with you. They can grow. Like it will cost more money to have a VA salesperson or something like that. But yeah, as you grow, I think just adding things to their plate is a huge thing. Building them up with you and just finding the right people, because just like core values, like when you have people in person, like it's the same thing when you have virtual assistants overseas. Like get people who fit, get people who want to grow with you and your company, and they can literally do everything for you.
Yeah, and for our employees, I don't like the term virtual assistant because there's no difference between them and our employees. So why not just give them a normal title? Like they're doing we have a video editor. Yep. He's an overseas employee. We call him a VA, virtual assistant, but he's our video editor on paper too. You know what I mean? And they work full time. Mm-hmm. They're not working other places. And same as...
They're part of us. Yeah,
they're part of our same team. As customer support. Like there's no... So I've never liked the term virtual assistant, but it's very easy to just say and kind of categorize it. They're employees and they will become a big part of your company. And that's how it is here. They're like anyone else. And it makes no difference whether it's a offshore person to us or onshore. They're the same people and they're contributing to the same team essentially.
Yeah, for sure. You talked a little bit about price point, Dan. Like if people are just trying to get a customer support virtual assistant overseas, are they looking Philippines? Or are they looking, like, where are they looking? How much should they be trying to pay?
Philippines is a good place to start, I think. I have friends who do it a lot in South America. You can get some pretty good people. Offshore employees in general are a lot more cheaper. Even in Europe, they're a lot cheaper than here. A lot of people go to Eastern Europe and get them. But Philippines is a really good place to start, I think. You can get a good customer service rep for $3 to $5 an hour, and then just increase and give them bonuses over time, and have good incentive structures for them so they know what they're doing. They know when they're supposed to get things done. So it's very black and white whether they're doing a good job or not. That's the hardest part with virtual assistants, I think, is because it can get really hard to measure.
Yeah, for sure, because some of the stuff is just like, get this stuff done.
Scrub.
You just want to make sure they're not missing stuff, make sure they're doing their job appropriately, and having checkpoints, I think, for sure. But the biggest thing I've seen for virtual assistants, like I said before, for overseas employees, is having those videos, like creating almost like a course on how to do what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And it makes turnover much easier, even with anyone. Like if you have a video thing on how to do XYZ job, it's much easier when you have turnover to plug someone else into that position.
You have, so you have to learn it first, essentially,
100%.
and then you have to teach them instead of going. And I don't know if we mentioned that. A lot of people will barely know a topic and they'll try to outsource it right away to a virtual assistant. It's like you can do that. We have a videographer sitting right here. You can do that with people like Ben, because Ben went to school and he's done this way more than us, and we didn't know.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know how to set up all these cameras and all these lights like this. You know what I mean? But for virtual assistants, they're coming in and expecting your guidance. You know what I mean?
You need to teach them. Like it is 100% part of the thing. You need to teach them whatever the hell they're going to be doing.
Right.
And if you don't understand it, they're not going to understand it. So you learning that for like a video editor is different. Overseas video editor, he understands and he can learn stuff himself. He went to school for it, versus like a due diligence person. They've probably never done due diligence on land. Like you're not going to find a due diligence person for land out there. So if you understand due diligence, you can teach it to them.
And then that's one of the main differences between that and hiring someone more experienced and paying that next level.
American, or are you just saying in general?
American, or just paying, let's just go with American for this example. Like a very good salesperson. You're still going to have to teach them how to, sell
the product
in the land and the product, but they can come in, they have that mind, and they might be more sales oriented than you. Or a data analyst. And that doesn't need to be American necessarily either. But I'm just saying there's a level to where you can eventually hire people and they come in and teach you how to do it. And that's like the next phase after, I'd hire, build out your business offshore as cheap as possible. And then there's a next layer, if you guys really want to get going, to where people can come in and help improve your systems and processes or your acquisitions. And they can help take that to the next level, whether it's an equity partner or just a highly paid salary, essentially.
And that's when you're hiring like over yourself. Like you're hiring someone who's better than you at something.
That's what I was trying to get
100%.
at.
And that's when you can really take your business to the next level, is when your skills aren't the ceiling of the business, essentially. And that if you're a B salesperson, you bring in an A+ salesperson, they're going to make good money because they're a good salesperson.
Yeah.
You're going to make more money because they are closing more deals.
That's where business gets hard. Like I feel like the hiring out with a virtual assistant, I don't want to say it's easy, but you can grind your way to, $1 million. It's bringing that next layer in and motivating people and getting those good partnerships. And that's where like that hiring gets to the next level. And that's like the strategy.
Compensation stuff.
Structuring. Like that's just a high strategy, and things get more difficult when you get that. But that's how you scale.
Yeah, 100%. Like if your skill set is the ceiling to the business, like there's just too many gaps. Like your skill set can't be A+ operations, A+ salesperson, A+ market. It's just not realistic.
Right.
So if you can fill those gaps, maybe you are an A+ salesperson, keep doing sales. That's amazing. Keep doing that. But your gaps are in marketing or in operations. Like that's how you're seeing those, bring in those A players. And like A players it feels like you have 5 employees.
And exactly. And they'll bring everyone up with them and train people under them. And that's the way you need to go. And that's how you really, really scale, like Ron said. And you'll see once you hire like virtual, when you start to teach everyone everything and you have 4 virtual assistants on board, you'll see how capped your business is and you'll feel it. You know what I mean? Because everyone's asking you for their decisions and how do they do this and all. You'll just feel capped.
Yep.
And I know that feeling because we've all been there before. I had a past business with and you'll hit that point and you're like, shit, I need someone higher here, like someone just more sophisticated and more passionate about, just someone to take you to the next level. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And that's when that next level comes in and they can help manage those other people and bring other people on board and hire and manage. And that's where like you talk about the money signs you put next to every role. If you can teach someone how to like manage and take these things to the next level, like that's the highest value thing possible.
Yeah, because if the business is relying on you, there's a ceiling to the business for sure. No matter what, like it doesn't matter if you have 100 virtual assistants, like there is a cap to how much you can oversee, how many people you can oversee.
What about pricing? I want to touch on that.
Yeah, pricing to sending.
If you're doing blind offers.
Again, this is something we haven't outsourced overseas, but it is definitely something that is possible. A lot of people have opened up. I know there's people in the community. It is I don't want to say a high risk thing, but sending mail out, if you're just doing mail, like it's expensive to send mail. So you having someone who can accurately price, who you can train. This is a position, it's so specified. You probably have to train and have detailed trainings.
You do.
But
So it's going to be capped at you. But I think actually if you get someone specified, you can train them the business.
you train them the base, and then they take it and run.
I think they can do that, yeah.
So that's kind of my experience. I know there's people in the community who have outsourced overseas. It's something we're talking about right now. As far as outsourcing pricing overseas, we haven't done that yet, but it's about getting them the base knowledge about the product, I think, about land, about all that stuff. That's where the gap's going to be. And then their data knowledge, because you can get amazing data analysts overseas. Their data knowledge is what's going to grow and improve your pricing systems once they understand the product.
Yep. I like it. Anything else to add? I think just to summarize this podcast up, pay between $3 to $5 an hour for your first employee.
Yep.
When should you do it? Whenever that time makes sense, whenever you feel overwhelmed and you feel like you can't spend money on the acquisitions and on the county selection and just getting your mail and marketing out essentially. So you guys will see exponential results once you can outsource the low tiered value stuff and put all those activities towards the high things that actually move the needle and make you money.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't have anything to add. Other than that, guys, if you guys are watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button right below. Watching on Apple, Spotify, anything like that, share it with a friend. Share it on your Instagram story. Other than that, thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining, guys. As always, thank you for joining. Please do us a huge favor and like and subscribe our YouTube channel and share this with a friend. It really means the world to Ron and I, but more importantly, it could help change the life of someone else. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you next episode.